He praised China's passion for academic research as a significant advantage.
Sure, China is going to do extremely well.
He stated that scientific inquiry relies on persistent pursuit.
You better do something which is really something you've got enormous motivation for.
He also emphasized that AI is not a superpower and humanity should maintain its dominion over the world.
If you kind of have some understanding of it, it's not so mysterious.
Turing Award laureate Leslie Valiant sat down in an exclusive interview with Leaders Talk.
Hello and welcome to Leaders Talk, where we meet leaders, thinkers, and trailblazers. I'm Wang Guan at Tsinghua University in Beijing, China. Our guest today is Professor Leslie Valiant, the 2010 Turing Award winner, which is the world's highest honor in computer science. We asked him about the importance of basic research to scientific development. Professor Valiant's research really laid the foundation for machine learning and modern-day AI, so we asked him about the potential and risks of artificial intelligence. Will machines eventually get smarter than humans? And in that eventuality, how should we, the humans, cope? Here's my conversation with Professor Valiant.
Currently, the world is on the brink of a new explosion of disruptive technologies. The global AI landscape is rapidly evolving, with artificial intelligence emerging as a strategic technology, leading a new wave of technological revolution and industrial transformation. It complements basic scientific research, creating new development opportunities for both fields. Earlier in July, the 2024 International Congress of Basic Science was held in Beijing, attracting over 800 top scientists and scholars from around the world to discuss the latest advancements and future directions in the field of basic sciences. At the opening ceremony, Leslie Valiant, a professor at Harvard University and internationally renowned computer scientist, received the Lifetime Achievement Award in Basic Sciences. The 2010 Turing Award winner shared his latest insights on computer science at the conference.
Professor Valiant, I want to welcome you to Beijing, China, and to China Media Group's Leaders Talk program.
Thank you very much for inviting me on your program. Yes, I'm excited to be here.
You've been awarded Lifetime Achieving Award at the Second International Congress of Basic Science. First of all, tell us, how do you feel? How does this award make you feel?
I think these prizes at the International Congress of Basic Sciences are rather novel in that they celebrate the mathematical sciences across the board, including pure mathematics, physics, and computer science. So I like what they're doing, so I'm excited to be here.
And being here talking to your Chinese peers, how would you assess the level of curiosity and the level of achievement by your Chinese peers?
I think the Chinese interest in scholarship is always wonderful, and I think the tradition in China and love of scholarship is a wonderful strength I think China has, and obviously all the great investment now in mathematics, computer science, basic sciences, I think is a very good thing, and I'm sure China is going to do extremely well. I've always admired the Chinese traditional love of learning and mathematics. Professor
Valiant, so just now we're walking down the hall and we're caught by the remarks by Professor Chu Tong, whereby he said mathematics pursue truly is the eternity of truth, and what we love are formulations and theories. These are more precious than gold. Can I have your comment on these?
I agree with that totally. Of course, the beauty of mathematical formulations is that they're the same. You know, something which is true stays true for the centuries. It's true everywhere in the world. It's timeless. So with mathematics, you do get something which is very permanent.
How did you get interested in mathematics in the first place?
Yes, so from an early age, maybe from age of 9 or 10, I was interested in science. So I think I like physics, I like physical experiments, and also this was in the late 50s. So one thing which was maybe special then is that transistors, which had been invented 10 years earlier, became a commodity. So, on the suburbs of London, as a child, you could buy little components inexpensively and make your own transistor radio. So that's rather amazing. So
how many radios did you make?
Several, yes, several. So it became cheap and easy to use, wasn't dangerous, and so that's how I got into. That's one of the things I did in science, and I think mathematics kind of came naturally to me, and I understood that to really understand what was going on with these transistor radios, I needed to know mathematics.
Professor Valiant, I want to go back to the early days. You said during an interview in 2017 that your parents were, quote-unquote, very generous and giving, saying that I don't recall them ever giving me directions or even suggestions. They just let me do what I feel like doing. Do you think that's partly why you were allowed on a free-ranging path to discover mathematics, computer science as your true passion?
I think it helped that I didn't feel that my parents had very strong expectations of what direction I was going to take. And in fact, when I took the direction of computer science, which was very new at the time and seemed risky almost, my parents didn't show any hesitation. That was early 70s, in fact, compared to doing physics or mathematics at the time, which were very traditional and highly respected. Computer science was a risky venture. One didn't know what was going to happen. Was it going to become a big, respectable field, having much content and having much impact, or was it just some passing curiosity? So in fact, so my story is that I studied mathematics and some physics, and then looking to find somewhere to do a PhD, I was reading some papers in the library, and I did discover a paper which basically gave a version of Alan Turing's theory of non-computability in a very tangible form. And so this really struck me as being rather different, because this non-computability was really about our intellectual life. So it was something showing limits to kind of problems we could solve, which could be solved. And it was pretty obvious to me that, all the physics and mathematics I had done didn't address this issue of trying to determine what are the limits of our thinking.
Leslie Valiant, born in 1949 in Budapest, Hungary, completed his undergraduate studies at the University of Cambridge in the UK. After entering the field of computer science, he focused on innovative research, exploring areas such as algorithms for computational objects, including the human brain and computer processes. During the International Conference on Basic Sciences, Valiant referenced a segment from a 1951 speech by Alan Turing, the father of computers and artificial intelligence. Over 70 years ago, Turing believed that machines would one day be able to think like humans. This prediction has had an immeasurable impact on the subsequent development of artificial intelligence. In 1984, Valiant proposed the computational learning theory called probably approximately correct. This research provided a theoretical foundation for advancements in artificial intelligence, ushering in a new era of machine learning and communication, and triggering a series of transformations. As a result, in 2010, Valiant was awarded the Turing Award, often referred to as the Nobel Prize of Computing.
And in 1951, Turing said that he didn't rule out the possibility that one day machines can learn the way humans do. But that was 1950s, 70 years ago. And those remarks made an impact on you.
So some of his work was very concrete and mathematical, and some was more, what's the word for it, speculative, like this one. So he didn't tell us how you should do the learning. And so it certainly made an impact on me. And then for several decades afterwards, people were wondering, what does learning really mean? So how do you make a computer learn? Is it something kind of statistical? Is it something very logical? So there were a range of alternatives considered. But he didn't tell us how to do it.
So Professor, let's talk about your very important theory, probably approximately correct framework. It was first proposed in 1984, the year that I was born. So kudos to you, all my respect. What inspired you to do that? And could you share with our audience who are not perhaps extremely savvy in mathematics or science, what this PAC model is all about, and why is it so foundational to machine learning and modern day AI?
Because you have to start somewhere of saying, what does a machine learning program have to do to be successful? So it's a definition of saying, if you do this, then you're a learning program. And so what this definition says is that you're given examples of a concept, like a concept of an elephant. You're given pictures maybe, and some you label elephant, some you label not elephant. And by giving many examples, you train the program to this learning algorithm will generate a second learning algorithm which will classify new examples, whether they're elephants or not. Okay, so it's an idea of generalization. And then on top of this, there's a quantitative requirement that you should be able to do this with the reasonable effort. If with this much effort, you get 10%, you get 90% accuracy, and if you maybe do 10 times as much effort, maybe you get 92% accuracy. Then with another 10 times more effort, you should get even more accuracy.
And what do you think is behind what seems to be the rapid rise of AI and generative AI in the past couple of years? Because previously, it seems as if it's in the backlog. People have been talking about it, it's confined in the science community. And in the past couple of years, it's in our lives. It's in everyday life.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Yeah. Well, I think the big difference is this large language models, the fact that they can produce such very smooth language, whether it's English or Chinese, and humans find it stunning that intuitively, without thinking, you think anything which can produce such smooth sentences must be human. But of course, that's not true.
But Professor, recently researchers at the University of Reading in the UK used the AI-generated assignments to fool the professors and the graders and received higher scores than responses made by humans for the same assignment. Does that concern you?
Yeah, well, whether these things pass the Turing test isn't so clear. I mean, the Turing test would be, you interviewing this machine and really trying to find out whether it's a machine or not. And you're allowed to ask very careful questions. So I suspect that you could figure out whether it's a machine or a human. Very generally, I think my view of these large language models is that for things which I have little expertise for, so for doing some home repairs, I could go to a large language model because it knows much more than I do. But in anything but where you kind of have some expertise, it's not so accurate. I mean, in these passing tests, it's very hard to judge because many questions in many tests are rather standardized. They're repeated. They're out on the web 1 million times. So it's just doing a search. So any one story like that, I think by itself, one doesn't have to take that seriously.
But generally, are you worried, are you concerned as a scientist by the increasing amount of concern in terms of security that AI poses, in terms of ethical threats that AI can potentially pose?
I think it's a new age where machines will get into every aspect of our life, and many of the issues, because what machines are doing are just what humans used to do. So in some sense, none of these questions are totally novel. So we've had to face the issue of fraud, for example, with humans perpetrating fraud. Now they can get help from machines. So there are many serious issues, but none of the issues are totally new. Adjust to the new situation where machines can help and amplify.
The development of AI technology has sparked numerous concerns, with people worrying that one day AI may become more intelligent than humans. Behind these discussions, the concept of intelligence itself remains poorly defined. To address this, Valiant conducted in-depth research. In his book, The Importance of Being Educable, A New Theory of Human Uniqueness, he mentions that the brain's exceptional learnability distinguishes humans, and this unique capability has always been the foundation of human achievements and civilization.
So Professor Valiant, talking about your book, The Importance of Being Educable, A New Theory of Human Uniqueness, it's a fascinating read. You said the concept of intelligence is not one that is well defined. We need better concepts such as educability instead of intelligence. Why is that?
I think the word intelligence hasn't, it's not well defined. When psychologists or experts on intelligence are asked what intelligence is, they just disagree. So, and also we use it in a vague ways. But when we, for example, want to build a machine to imitate what we do, then we have to be more specific on what is it that, what capability is it that is being executed. Just saying, let it be intelligent, doesn't say anything. So educability is a composite thing, but it's based on learning. And learning is something which we can define much better.
So in this book, you said the ability, the opportunity of being educable is so important for humans in this day and age of artificial intelligence. Maybe you can elaborate on that thought for us too.
I think, so understanding our basic cognitive capabilities is both understanding ourselves better, and it's also understanding what machines will be able to do. Because in general, when we build machines, we just make them imitate us.
So what are the things that we don't know about the human brain and the human thought process that that you dedicate yourself to learning more about?
Of the issues raised in the book, so one particular open question is that, so I'm suggesting that this notion of educability, which is defined in the book, is important, but it's an empirical question whether you can actually, whether it's useful. So can you make a test which tests for educability, which is somehow more useful than current IQ tests? And very basically, a test for educability is different because if you go into the test, for most other tests, you're tested for some previous knowledge or some previous trait, whereas in educability, you are really tested on how well you can take up information during the test.
I think what you're saying is that intelligence is not predetermined and predestined. Of course, there are differences and variations, but it can be trained and it can be acquired through hard work and good cultivation.
Yes. So I think I think all humans are educable, and this gives us enormous powers of changing ourselves, enormous powers of learning new things. And I think most of our behavior is, I think, governed by what we've learned in life. I mean, there may be obviously some genetic component of what we're better at, but being educable gives us this enormous capability to just keep learning. And the fact that humans like learning is kind of self-evident, that people look at their cell phone all the time, they watch movies, they read books, and often they don't even care whether what the movie is real or fiction. We do have a thirst for absorbing information. So the model of a human is someone who always wants to be educated to learn more things and organize their brains with the new knowledge. I think that's a pretty obvious view of humans once you've said it, I think.
Professor Valiant, do you think machines will eventually, one day, be smarter than humans?
I don't think that's so well defined, because smartness isn't a kind of one-dimensional axis, and just like humans are, human intelligence, which word I don't want to use, isn't a one-dimensional axis. We're all good at different things. If you specify a task like chess, yes, you'll make a machine which is better than humans, and that may happen for almost any activity. But from that, you shouldn't jump to the fact that the machines are smarter than us. Okay, so it's I think the main question in the future is who controls the world. I think obviously humans should keep control of the world. I don't think we've got much reason to fear that machines will want to seize control of the world. But we certainly shouldn't give control of the world to machines. That would be stupid for us, I think.
What about super intelligent machines? That concept appeared in your book, I think. You're quoting that concept.
But I reject it. So these theories of singularity, which people have written over the years, that at some point, in your words, machines will become smarter than us, and at that point something terrible will happen. So I think those arguments are fallacious, because, for example, we've got no reason to believe that machines will be selfish unless we make them selfish. We don't have to give control to machines. So this idea that machines will take over, it's a very old one, but the old idea isn't because we have machines which are so super smart. So this is from the 19th century, the idea that humans find new technology so convenient that we kind of cede our life to it without realizing all the consequences. So cars, cell phones, computers. So it's not that these things take over because they're so smart and want to take over. Just that we find, say, cell phones so convenient that they control our lives.
Does the development of AI surprise you? What aspect of it really stunned you and made you like, wow, I didn't expect that to happen so fast?
Well, actually, I mean, no specific thing has surprised me that much. So if you kind of have some understanding of it, it's not so mysterious. So the way in the press people announce some new thing which AI can do, it's regarded as some stunning surprise. But so I haven't found it so stunning. So once you do machine learning on a big enough scale.
So, Professor, many professions are gone or at the risk of being eliminated. To educators, to job seekers and students, what would be your advice to them in this age of artificial intelligence?
I don't think there's a universal advice because there's always been kind of churn in the labor market. So there are new jobs created by technology and a new job taken away by technology. So what happens does depend a lot on human choice, which is about to happen. So, for example, an airport I was traveling through, you could buy coffee both from a robot and from a human, and the robot was charging more. So, for some reason, people are willing to pay more money to a robot than to a human. So, I think in every endeavor, humans will decide what's needed. So, for example, in the education world, whether it will be all robots teaching or all humans teaching, it's hard to predict because it depends on human preference. But what I expect is that in most professions, computers will help, and humans will decide what needs to be done. They'll keep control they'll make the choices, but computers will help. So I think seeing how computers can help in whatever your profession is, I think is a useful endeavor. And I don't think it's all negative news from AI.
Many believe that sometimes you have to lose yourself in your true passion, and the rest will follow. Do you regard that episode as one of those examples?
Well, I think it's losing yourself in your passion. Yeah, I mean, it's easy to say; it's harder to follow through. But certainly, if you do scientific research, I think it's very good advice because. To do research, every day, you may fail. It's a lot of effort. So you better do something which is really something you've got the enormous motivation for.
Professor, I'm curious, what is the ultimate goal, the end game of your research in computer science? What problems does it strive to resolve eventually?
So this was 20 years ago. So I had 3, and I'm still basically sticking to the same 3. So one was defining the nature of human cognition. Second one, which is different, is understanding in detail how the human brain works. And the third thing is the kind of the power of computation, which still Turing didn't quite resolve. So there's some very big problems there still. So these are big problem areas which I'm intrigued by and have been for a long time.
Are you confident you'll find answers?
Yeah, I'm hopeful that one can make progress, yes. I'm hopeful that one can make further progress.
This is Professor Valiant. Before we go, I want to show you something. This is proudly produced by China Media Group. It's one of China's first AI-generated video. It's text to video. I want to show you.
It goes down to Yangzhou, 1,000 miles from home. Lonely smoke rises straight over endless river.
How rare, so round and clear. With cup in hand, I ask of the blue sky.
How do you like it?
Oh, well, it's very, very nice. So AI has a role in entertainment, clearly.
Very good. All our respect, Professor Valiant. Thank you so much for your time. We learned a lot.
Well, thank you for inviting me again. Thank you.
Now, Professor Valiant's choice of words were judicious and cautious, but his views are profound and thought-provoking. A major takeaway from this whole interview is, as Professor Valiant rightly pointed out, that we as humans should perhaps take a hard look at so many presumptions underlying our opinions and judgments. Thank you for watching this episode of Leaders Talk. I'm Wang Guan in Beijing, China. I'll see you again next time.